everyone. Welcome to episode 40. Is it really 46?
I think so, yeah.
46. Dang. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 46 of Patch Notes, the Homegames podcast. I'm Yazeed, and this is Joseph.
Hello, I'm Joseph. Today is Sunday, August 30th, and I am checking if this is really episode 46, but I believe it is.
I think it is as well. I just always question those numbers because they're so high now.
Yeah, it's weird. We've been doing this almost a year. It's kind of strange to think about.
Yeah, episode 52 would be a whole year, right?
Yeah, it will be, but that's not going to be the significant one. 50 will be, just because that's how numbers work. It's like, who cares about 52?
People work.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I don't know. It's weird. I was just thinking about this recently. Like, I've never stuck to something this long every week, ever. I don't think. Besides, the things that you need to do to, like, be a person in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. This is getting close.
Mm-hmm.
I think like about a year is how long I've devoted to something in the past.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just want to give people a quick heads up. As you can tell, JC and Alex are not here. It's not because we hate them. It's because we dislike them. No, they're just they will come and go. They're more like recurring guests in a sitcom than regular main characters like Joseph and me.
We got to get the applause button. So when you hear JC's voice or Alex's voice, it's like in an old sitcom when they walk in the door. It's like, whoa.
Oh, that would be actually really fun. Yeah. I like that idea. But yeah, so that's just an update on that. And then we're going to hop into the Homegames table of content. And that's just real rough outline of what we're going to be talking about Homegames related. So just kind of like big PRs got merged in, new PRs will be created, some bugs that were found, and some of the work that was done this week. Yeah, it's that's just kind of like a high-level overview.
Yeah, despite maybe some assumptions, we do work on things outside of this podcast. We do work on home games.
We do work on home games and other stuff as well.
We have whole lives and stuff. It's kind of crazy to think about, but we do. Yeah, we don't just do this podcast. Home game stuff happened this week.
Speaking of lives, Joseph, what's going on, man? What happened to you this week?
I don't know. Not a whole lot happened to me this week. It was very much another week. Yesterday we did kind of this fancy dinner idea that Synovia had. So a few weeks back, Synovia was like, well, we should do this kind of restaurant thing for each other. Like, we can't really go to restaurants right now. I mean, we can, but we probably shouldn't. So we should do a thing where we take turns designing a restaurant, designing a menu, making a whole thing, and then kind of you make your restaurant for the other person, right? And that whole thing. So Synovia did that last Saturday before we played Rainbow Six. That's why I was late or whatever for that, because Synovia made her Italian restaurant. It was incredible. She did the whole menu. She did it on cardstock, and she did the whole design and stuff by hand. And then she did fancy traditional Italian music. So it was some guy going oh, on the thing, on a speaker. And then she had the whole tablecloth and all this kind of stuff set out. She made the pasta from scratch. She made chicken fettuccine, and then she did the bread with the balsamic and tomatoes on it and stuff like that. It was so nice. So she set the bar very high. Is my point. She was really impressive.
Killed it.
Yeah. She even dressed up all fancy and all this kind of stuff. And I felt like Go ahead.
Did she dress up fancy, as in a really fancy waiter or waitress, or did she dress up fancy as in I'm a guest dressing fancy?
She dressed up like she would be the owner of the business. She she just dressed up fancy.
Okay.
And she told me it was a black tie dress code. I didn't have any black. I don't have anything fancy, or I didn't at the time. So I just put on a T-shirt with a black tie over it, and she said that was okay, because technically it was black tie. So anyway, yesterday I did my version of a restaurant, and I was intoxicated for the majority of yesterday. So I did all of this stuff under the influence of whiskey, and it kind of made everything better. I tend to freak out and stress over little things when they don't go right, and so I kind of was just flowing through things yesterday. So my menu was Brussels sprouts with cooked in bacon bits and stuff like that. You have bacon and balsamic on it, and baked potatoes, and then ribeye steaks with like bone-in ribeye steaks, and it was amazing. It was maybe the best dinner I've ever made ever in my life, and yeah, so it was nice. That's kind of what we did yesterday. I made fancy dinner, and yeah, that was basically my whole yesterday. Besides that,
very nice.
Not much.
Did you also make a menu on cardstock and stuff?
I didn't. So Synovia said that she would give me some of her cardstock, and I didn't. I went looking around the house for it, but I didn't want to ask her for it because she was out of the house and doing stuff. So I super glued 2 notebook pages together to make it thicker, and then I did a wine list on one side, and then the entree and sides on the other.
Oh, okay. Very nice. And did Synovia enjoy it as well?
Yeah, she said it was the best Brussels sprout she's ever had, which I'm guessing the bar wasn't very high before, but they were really amazing. They were great.
Any Brussels sprouts would be the best Brussels sprouts I've ever had.
You've never had Brussels sprouts?
I've never had Brussels sprouts, no.
I couldn't make them for you because my recipe has bacon. I don't know how they would come out without it. Maybe I can do some bacon-less Brussels sprouts. It's just crispy salt and pepper.
I mean, don't Brussels sprouts just taste like cabbage?
Kind of. They're like a greeny, yeah, kind of. But then I also did this sauce, like this. I drizzled this sauce, which was balsamic, and you're supposed to do honey, but we didn't have any honey, so I did maple syrup. So balsamic and maple syrup, like in a reduction or whatever, you cook it down. Fucking delicious, dude. It was so good. When you come over, if you come over, whatever, I'll make you Brussels sprouts, and you'll let me know how they are.
Okay, this sounds like a good plan. Yeah. This sounds like a good plan to me. I had an amazing week this week.
Nice.
Yeah. So last week when we were recording the episode, Champions League finals were being played, and my favorite team in the whole wide world was in the finals, and they won it all, and I'm so amped up for it.
And this is League of Legends or golf?
No, Champions League is soccer.
Okay.
Yeah, so Champions League is basically like the top clubs from each European country can play in Champions League, and Champions League crowns the like best team, basically like the best club team in Europe, which is basically like the best team in the world. So yeah, it's wild. They won. They beat Paris Saint-Germain, and they also went through Barcelona, like some real big hitter teams, and like just they won. It's great. I love it. I'm so pumped up. I didn't like check the results right after the podcast. Like went to go rewatch it, and I was, oh man, I love it.
What would you say is kind of the draw that keeps you kind of attached to soccer? Like what makes you want to watch it?
I'd say like 50% of it is I really like watching people who are good at things do their thing. So like I really like watching high level soccer, high level tennis, because I'm like watching the best in the world do this thing, and it's like it's cool to me. And then probably the other 25% is like players. Like 2 of my favorite players are on this team, so Thomas Müller and Manuel Neuer. So one of the forwards and the goalkeeper are like 2 of my favorite players, and they're on the same team. Like they're on my team. So like I watch their matches because I like them and I want to see them succeed.
Okay.
And then probably the remaining 25% is just like how insane some storylines are. Like Bayern Munich's always been one of the best teams in the world, but they would always get knocked out by Real Madrid, usually in like the quarters of the semis. Like they hadn't seen the finals in quite a while. But this year I don't think they even played Real Madrid. They won it all. So it's kind of cool.
Do you think if those 2 dudes left the team that you like, you would follow them to another team, or that you would stick with this team?
I'd probably stick with the team because, like I said, I like watching. Like 50% of it is just like I like watching high level stuff, and Bayern Munich is the best team in Germany, which is one of the best leagues in the world. But
isn't it the best team because of the people who are on it?
Kind of, but it's also like the strategies, like their tactics and stuff. Like it's like Bayern Munich isn't just like the best team in Germany. They're like quite a few of their players are also on the national team. So like watching them play is basically like watching the best players of Germany play, because the best players in Germany will gravitate towards Bayern Munich. So even if they like retire, because they're both getting kind of old, I expect them to retire eventually. New players will come up and they'll probably be really good anyway.
Yeah.
Like most of like their like junior squad is also quite good. So
yeah. Nice. And me and Senovia were just talking about this past week of like there are people who go so hard just talking about like basketball or football, American football, not even soccer. That's a whole other realm of crazy. But people will get in arguments that get really heated about their team and like, oh, the team, and like, oh, whatever, like, and it's just my team. I like the Cowboys. I like the Raiders. I like the whatever. But that team doesn't actually mean anything. Like if it's about representing where you're from, people will join this team mostly because this team was offering that person the biggest check. It's not because they have any loyalty to Oakland or whoever or your city. So it's kind of like, I don't know, I guess I just don't quite get. Yours makes sense, but people who are just blindly riding for some named group of men that they've never met, and they're just like so willing to get heated over it. I just don't get that.
Oh yeah, no, I'm like, I don't like that either because I think it comes down to like a language thing, right? I won't ever say like we won because I wasn't participating. My team won, like the team I support won. It's like, that's cool. But like, I think people who are like way too into it will say stuff like, oh, we won the championship. And it's like, you didn't do shit. You just sat there and maybe watched. Like I didn't do anything. I just watched their matches and said like, cool.
Yeah. I get it though. I mean, especially if someone doesn't really have maybe other things to attach themselves to, that it's kind of like my whole life is riding on this. You know, my whole life is the Miami Heat.
Oh yeah, I'm not that kind of person. First of all, I follow like a ton of sports and like try to just do as many things as I can. It's like I'm not really that attached to any one thing. Like in terms of like my teams, I've definitely like jumped teams before too. Like Bayern Munich is probably the longest I've enjoyed a single team in any sport or anything. Oh no, Roger Federer is the one I've like enjoyed the longest. Then it's Bayern Munich, and then probably like some other stuff.
Is Roger Federer, is that a name of a man or a team?
Oh, Roger Federer is like he's in the conversation between like three people for the greatest tennis player of all time. And
okay,
I literally grew up watching him. So he's my idol. If I could grow up to be anyone, it'd be him.
Nice. I only know Stan Smith because of the sneakers. I don't actually know anything about tennis.
Who is Stan Smith?
Dude, he's like I actually don't know anything beyond his name. He's like a famous tennis man, but he has the Adidas Stan Smiths, which are a tennis shoe or whatever, but they're classic sneakers. That's the only reason I know Stan Smith.
I don't even know who Stan Smith is.
Wow, so you're the real tennis poser. I'm gonna Google Stan Smith really quick to make myself, just to confirm I'm not an absolute clown on this podcast.
Stan Smith isn't a tennis player. I'm gonna laugh. I know most of the top players from the last like 30 years or so. So.
Stan Roger Smith is a former world #1 American tennis player and 2-time Grand Slam singles champion who also, with his partner Bob Lutz, formed one of the most successful doubles teams of all time. That is a tennis man. In the 70s,
What year was he playing?
The 70s.
Okay, that was a little bit outside of my range of knowledge. 70s is a little bit too old for me.
Yeah, see, so I'm the real tennis guy. I know all the info about hot tennis tips and history. This is now a tennis podcast because I'm the expert.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Having like a team that you really enjoy win, or like just watching like high level. So basically, like the way I would describe it is like Champions League is the highest level soccer you will watch, whereas the World Cup is like the most hype soccer you'll watch, right? Because the clubs, like these are like they're paid to play together, and they'll play together for like multiple seasons typically, and like their teams like built like handcrafted by like from all like talent from all over the world and stuff, whereas the World Cup is like the most hype. It's like watching Champions League is really watching like the best tactical play and best like mechanical play probably in the world. Like it's wild that my team won finally.
Yeah. Well, speaking of high-level play, I started playing Clone Hero again this past week. I talked about it on like a very old episode of this podcast, but Clone Hero is essentially a clone of Guitar Hero built in Unity and released on Windows, and I think it's on Mac as well, maybe. But you get this base game, and it's got some songs that you don't care about. But if you go and you find internet resources that allow you to get all of the songs from Guitar Hero games. You can basically get every song from every Guitar Hero game ever into this thing and just play them on your computer. And I have a Guitar Hero controller, so I had to do some weird driver hack that I had to like go and edit a text file manually to do something, but to get it all working. But I did, and then I've been playing Clone Hero, and I'm still very good at Guitar Hero. I think Guitar Hero 3 might be one of my favorite games of all time. There's just something about that game, that series, and it doesn't really exist on new stuff, and it's kind of just lost to that generation of consoles. And I think a thing that makes me sad is that you can always emulate the games, but you cannot emulate this hardware, the guitar controller and stuff.
Yeah.
And one day that's going to die, and I'm not going to be able to find more of them, and it's kind of just going to be over. You know?
Yeah, that's going to be pretty sad. Because, like, right now, don't you have to, like, find stuff on eBay, basically, to buy the controllers and stuff?
Yeah, you can go to Goodwill or eBay, but the specific, like, Les Paul Guitar Hero 3 Xbox 360 controller, this very specific one, is harder to find because there's a non-zero demand for it. The ones with, like, the Wii, for example, you can find those because no one wants them. But because Clone Hero exists, there's demand for these things. So they can go up for like $60 on eBay, which is a crazy price to pay for an old peripheral like that. But I actually paid that much for one of them once, and then when I came back home, I had my old one at my mom's house. So now I have two, which is nice because when one breaks, I can use the other. But when that one breaks, I cannot play this anymore unless some weirdo third-party peripheral comes up that's completely the same and whatever. You know what I mean? But that's a very niche thing.
Somebody disassembles one, puts all the schematics for it on a 3D printer, and then you can do it that way.
I mean, yeah, maybe the future's crazy. Speaking of the future being crazy, did you see that Neuralink demo?
No, I was going to watch it later. I haven't got around to it yet. Was it cool?
Dude, okay, I love Elon Musk because I'm sure there's a bunch of people who are like, Elon, you're really not a good speaker. You're not a good presenter. You're not a good showman. And he's like, fuck you. I know how this works. So I'm going to go up there and I'm going to tell them in this very awkward way about why this is cool. And he'll, like, the Cybertruck thing was the same thing. It was a very awkward demo. But he's always just himself, right? Like, he is him. So the Neuralink one was kind of in a similar thing. It was really awkward, and he stumbled over his words a lot. He seems like he's just uncomfortable constantly. But the summary is they had this thing implanted into a pig's head, and it was registering like signals based off of the snout of the pig. So whenever the snout touched something, there would be a spike on this particular thing that was reading. I also don't have it. I have no idea how this science works, by the way. I'm just so it was just this demo of the pig. Whenever its nose would hit something, there would the machine would make a sound. This very basic thing of like, there's this link here going through all this stuff, and it's just a pig. There's nothing crazy on its head. There's nothing going on. Whatever. It's just a pig. And someone even asked at the Q&A at the end. It was like, so one day will we be able to store and retrieve memories? And he was like, yeah. Elon was like, yeah. I know this is sounding like a Black Mirror thing, but I mean, you know, kind of whatever. It's like when he says that, it's like, holy shit, I believe you. You know, like, this is crazy. This world that we live in is crazy, and this technology is insane. But I don't know. It was cool to watch.
You are going to get that and store all your memories, aren't you? On like petabytes of data.
I guess it's weird because, like, I don't know how that works. If you're storing memories, you're storing memories like according to you. Maybe your memories aren't objective. Like we were talking just before we hit record or before we started doing this, but like photos are a pretty objective representation of something that's real. Someone's storytelling, like someone's story of what happened, is not. It's always from their perspective. Not like, you know what I mean?
I see what you mean. I guess if I was there and I could have asked a question, I wouldn't have asked if memories get stored. I would ask if experiences can be stored, right? Because what if you had 100% total recall of your dinner with Synovia, for example? I don't remember if that was recorded on the podcast or not.
Yeah, it was.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, then yes. All right, so like total 100% recall of your like body experiencing that dinner.
See, the like greedy capitalist in me is like, you could sell those experiences to lonely people.
Oh, that's Black Mirror. I think there literally is an episode of Black Mirror like
Maybe
that.
I haven't seen all of Black Mirror, but I guess so. I don't know. It was just a very interesting demo, and I think it's crazy. Like, I'm constantly thinking about I don't know, just how fast things move these days, and how impressive some things are. But it's kind of just like you just brush it aside because everything's amazing. So if you even think of that, like, if you stop to think about one thing being amazing, it's like, yeah, of course, technology's amazing. Like, I can get fucking burritos at my door in 10 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, that's amazing to me. But the world, like, Neuralink, I don't know, that whole demo was just insane to me. And I was super impressed. And I love Elon Musk. I just wanted to mention that.
That is pretty wild. Also, you mentioned Unity earlier, and I want to tell you that the person who I know who does know Unity did say that they would go on the podcast.
Oh,
so,
nice. I cut that part out of the last episode just because I didn't want to put pressure on this person. Because I know we had the other thing where my friend who has worked on Unity stuff before was like kind of interested in doing it, but then we wanted to do something in person, but then it didn't really kind of work out timing wise, and then I moved away from Seattle, so it's very much not going to happen now. So I just didn't want to have another thing like that, but it's nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, I talked to them. They said that they would. We need to figure out like how we're gonna do it because they don't have a setup, so they'd probably have to like come do it in person too. So like we just have to figure that out.
Yeah.
Like location and all that stuff.
If I have to buy one more condenser mic, I'm gonna lose my mind. So yeah, it would be nice if we can do that.
Sven's is actually gonna own like 50 condenser mics by the end of this. But also I was gonna say just one thing, not about pigs necessarily, but about my dog, is she went to the groomer on Friday, and yes, last night it rained real hard, and of course when we went on our walk, she was like perfect mud and then laid in it, and I was like, you piece of garbage. I just cleaned you. You were so clean, and now my whole house is just covered in mud. Just like, god dang it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dogs are a bad idea. I love dogs, but our dog is also a pain in the ass, and it's like, damn it. This kind of just sometimes it just really sucks taking care of this thing.
Yeah, I mean I love her, but part of the reason I send her off to be groomed is so that I get like an hour and a half to myself every now and again. So I can just do the things that I not that I can't do with her here, but like I don't do with her here.
Yeah. Yeah, we were on like a bird watch this past week because there was a bird's nest in our yard, and Pepper is very I don't know, she's a dog, so she saw those birds and she was like, I'm gonna kill these things, I'm gonna kill them for you, and I'm gonna bring them your corpse, or bring you their corpse. Bring them your corpse would be a twist. But so like the birds were there was two birds, and it was kind of this weird thing because it's in a weird little spot, but we realized that they had eggs, they had little babies there, and it's like, okay, well, we want to move this nest out of this yard so they're not in danger anymore, but we can't move the nest while there's babies in that. We don't want to kill their babies. And then the babies were born, and then there's little babies, and then it's like, oh shit, they don't know how to fly, and they're trying to learn how to fly with our dog in the yard. And then so one of them was like on the ground, and then Pepper was chasing after it, trying to kill it, and she had it like in her mouth almost, like she was very close. Anyway, it's just a pain in the ass is my point. Long story short, Synovia fixed the whole thing, and she moved the nest somewhere else, so those birds are no longer a problem, but it was just a pain in the ass.
I'm just gonna put this out there for the record. Most birds where the chick falls out of the nest, it was either done on purpose by the parent or that chick was never gonna make it.
It was like a full ass bird. It wasn't even a baby bird anymore. It was just on the ground because I think it was trying to figure out how to fly. But it wasn't, because I've seen the chicks that are whatever. That's like, whatever. That's the different thing. Yeah. This was like another little bird, and it just didn't know how to fly.
It was like an adolescent bird, not like a baby bird.
Yeah, a young teen bird.
Yeah, a teen bird about to get its head torn up by a dog.
Yeah.
It is funny to me because I know exactly how you feel about that. There's little baby rabbits in my area, and Sapphire is definitely like, These ones don't know how to run very fast.
Don't worry, Yazeed, I'll get them
Please.
for you. It's like, no.
No, I don't think she's I'm gonna get them for you. I think it's I'm gonna eat them. Don't worry, Chief. You don't have to give me food tonight. I'll eat these ones. They're like, what?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's just like I understand like all the cartoons and stuff about the, like I think like Tom and Jerry, right, where they just bathe Tom and then Jerry gets Tom dirty, and then the little girl is like, I just gave you a bath, and she's like real upset. That was me this morning. I was like, I just got you cleaned. Why did you get to roll in the mud?
No dog is ever clean. Dogs are fucking gross. Like, they're always going to be gross. I love them. Again, I love dogs, but they're gross.
They are.
So.
They are. They're
it's a lost
lovable. Cause. I love her. But yeah, I don't know, man. Just pretty okay week for me this week, I would say.
Yeah. Another thing, I wanted to start playing Ghost of Tsushima again. I felt like, even though I was trying to not be harsh on it last week, I felt like I came off kind of harsh on it. It's funny because after that too, I also ranked quality of gameplay third after skill and progression, or skill and challenge. But Ghost of Tsushima was like pretty unplayable to me because the quality of gameplay was so poor. Not even the quality of gameplay is a different thing. It's just performance. Like the performance was so bad it made the game unplayable to me. So
yeah,
wanted to play that game, had it all queued up to play it, and then acquired a PS2 emulator and started playing PS2 games instead. And that's way better than playing anything new, because I've hit that old man phase where my old games are better than anything coming out now. So I started playing Scarface, The World Is Yours, which is essentially a GTA clone. Have you seen Scarface, the movie?
The movie?
Yeah.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So, okay, you know that Tony dies in the end, right? Very
Yes.
sad, R.I.P. This game is essentially an alternate take on that ending, and it's instead of Tony dying, he just lives, and he gets ran out of his mansion, and now he has to rebuild his empire. Is essentially the thing of this. So you have kind of like these.
Is he still a coke addict?
No, the kind of like darkness that causes Tony's demise in the movie is kind of just removed in this, and he's just a guy now. Right. So basically this game is a GTA clone, and the whole point is to take over these little neighborhoods and buy businesses, and you sell coke. There's a coke dealing mini game, which is pretty good. And you just get your money back, or your money and your reputation. And it's kind of like every level is a letter of the word Scarface. So when you start off, you're at S, right? And I played this game originally on the PS2. It was kind of a late in the generation thing. It came out like I think in 2005. So the 360 was already a thing. The PS3 was already going to be a thing. And this game came out on the PS2 and the Xbox. So I feel like it's kind of forgotten, maybe underappreciated or whatever. But anyway, when I played it originally, I got up to Scarfac. I had everything except for E, the last E of the respect meter. And so it always bothered me that I never finished the game. So I have been playing it on my emulator, and it's nice. You get the emulator stuff of being able to render it at a higher resolution and stuff like that. But it still crashes every now and then, which is frustrating. But I think the telling thing is that I'm still willing to keep playing it even after it crashes and I lose my save and all that kind of stuff. Or not save, I lose my progress.
I was going to say, you've quit games that are really good because you lost your save.
If I lose my save, like Skyrim, that happened to me before. When Skyrim came out, I was like 4 hours in, and there was some game-breaking bug on my thing. I had to restart from the beginning, and that made me not play it for like a whole 6 weeks or whatever. So, I don't know. Something about this game I think is just really great. It's hard for me to separate my nostalgia for it from the actual quality of the game, but I do think the game is very good. There's this whole pimp my mansion feature, which is hilarious. It's literally called that, capitalized in the game. Like that's the feature. And so you can buy these different things, again, to go towards your respect and reputation. So you can buy things for your mansion. Oh, I bought a flamingo. I bought a statue. I bought a whatever. And you can place them around your mansion kind of freely. And one of the items that you could buy is a bong, but it's not like a regular sized bong. It's like a 3-foot tall bong. And I filled up my mansion with like 12 of those, and I just put them in like the walkway area. And it's really stupid. I love that I could do that stuff. So I have a mansion full of bongs, and also I recruited some woman to just live in my house. She was just standing on the street, and I was like, hey, baby, you want to come to whatever? I clean my pool. And then she was like, okay. And then she just lives in my house now. She's just constantly standing there. So this is kind of how the game works. You just get resources for your mansion. You get like...
That seems way darker than you made it seem right there. Like, I think the subtext on that is just a little bit more troubling. But okay.
It's just like a really weird game mechanic. I don't really know. I don't know what they're going for with this, but it's just literally convince a woman that you're cool to come live at your house.
Okay.
And then also they have a really bad, or not even really bad. He's kind of okay Al Pacino impersonator for the voice. And so it's kind of just someone putting on like a fake Cuban accent. Because that's what Al Pacino did, by the way. He's not Cuban. Like that whole accent's fake. So anyway, it's a good game. I think for the photo for this podcast, I'm going to do the screenshot of me and my bong hallway because it's everywhere.
So I have a question on the voice actor. Are they doing are they like trying to like do Al Pacino during a Cuban accent, or are they just skipping the Al Pacino, stepping away straight to the Cuban accent?
Yeah, someone is trying to replicate Al Pacino's Cuban accent. Like
was that even a good Cuban accent?
I don't know. I don't know any Cuban people. So I don't know if it's a good accent, but I don't see a lot of conversation about it being a bad accent. Maybe because it's just an older movie and people didn't care so much back then that he was faking it. But like, I don't see a lot of negativity about it. So it must be fine.
The passive racism. They were just like, oh, it's Cuban, it's fine. And people were actually Cuban are like, what?
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, nice. I've seen Scarface. It's one of those things where I'm not really into like the crime genre. It's like Godfather, Scarface. Like those movies like don't do it for me in the same way I feel like it does it for other people.
Yeah, I think Godfather is very much a different thing. It's like still crime, but it's really just the quality of that movie is so great. Like everything is well made and it has a vibe to it.
Yeah, I love like some of most of them. Each of the hours of that movie has like one really crazy good scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, like one of my favorite scenes in that movie is where the main dude, Michael, right?
Mm-hmm. Wait.
Yeah. When
yeah. I don't know. Maybe Godfather 2. Anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, yeah. So like main dude, right? His dad, the Godfather, is like in the hospital because he got shot up, and he's like waiting outside the hospital because he's pretty sure like the people who shot him are gonna show up again. And he just pulls some random dude and is like, light a cigarette, put your hand in your pocket like you have a gun, and they scare them off by that. And like that was such a cool scene because it's so tense. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, you're right. That is from the first movie.
Yeah.
And then like the part where he like goes to get the pistol from the bathroom. Like there's just kind of parts of the iconic scenes from that movie. But then just what's his name? The Godfather, Don Corleone.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's just a great character. He's a classic character. So just seeing him in any scene at all makes it an interesting thing. But I would consider that different from
Marlon Brando.
Yes, Marlon Brando.
I got you.
But like Scarface is just, it's less well made, I guess. It's still a well made movie, but it's not that kind of quality. I would say The Godfather is just really up there in like the production value, and Scarface is just more of a fun story, even though it's not a fun story, but it's a good story that you just like to watch. It's like the come up and then the kind of crash because things went bad or whatever. I kind of turn it off when it starts to crash. I don't like the end of that movie. I don't like when he dies. I don't like when he kills his friend. I don't like any of that stuff. But I like seeing him win because I like Tony Montana. You know what I mean?
So you skip the part where the lesson is to be learned from the rest of the movie. Like, I don't really care about the lesson.
I want a movie
to watch a man get wealthy and develop a coke habit.
Yes. Well, even the coke habit, like up to the point where he just kind of, when he buys the mansion, I guess, and like that's when I want to kind of turn it off because I've seen what I consider the good part. You know, so.
That movie has like some really cool scenes. I like the scene where he's visiting the drug lord in like Colombia or whatever, where they throw the dude out of a helicopter. Yeah, that's like a wild scene. I think that's my favorite scene from that movie.
Yeah,
like that conversation, just like the way he like sells himself, but like also like doesn't push too hard. Like, I like that.
Knowing how much is on the line and he's still cool about it.
Well, he seems cool about it, but I'm pretty sure like his pants are brown.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I love Scarface. It's one of those things where it's hard to separate the movie from kind of this weird culture of all these like teenagers having the poster in their room. Like everybody had the poster in their room. Like my cousin had the poster in his room of just Scarface. Yeah, bro, crime and drugs and money, dude. Yeah, cool. It's like I also totally agree with that sentiment, but I'm not gonna put that out there. You know what I mean?
You're not gonna go hop on like a work meeting with like Scarface behind you, Tony Montana just staring you down.
Yeah. I used to have a Scarface T-shirt. It actually came with the game, the World Is Yours game or whatever. It was a bundled pack, and I was like a 12-year-old wearing a Scarface T-shirt all around town. It's pretty nice. Gave me some street cred, you know. It's like I've seen good movies.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if I've watched any movies. I don't think so. If I did, none of it stuck, so it wasn't that important.
That new Bill and Ted came out, and Kid Cudi's in it, so I'm very excited to watch that because I love anything with Kid Cudi in it.
Is that gonna go like direct to streaming services, or is that gonna have like a? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I bought it digitally yesterday, so I have to watch it at some point.
Oh, what services have it? I don't actually know.
I bought it on Amazon, but it probably elsewhere.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I will probably wait to watch it. It's like Mulan for me, where it's like, oh, cool, there's a Mulan movie out, but I'm not going to pay money specifically to see Mulan.
And not $30, especially on top of the Disney Plus subscription.
No, it's more expensive for me to do that than to just go to the movies alone and watch it, like I did with most of the other movies I've watched recently.
Yeah, that movie, Tenet came out as well. I've seen some kind of mixed review. The Christopher Nolan movie.
Oh, I didn't even know there was a Christopher Nolan movie.
Yeah. Wow, wow. Okay, yeah, it's like one of the biggest movies to come out the whole year, so that's kind of interesting.
Dude, listen, when movie theaters are closed, I don't care about new movie launches because I'm not gonna see them new anyway. I'm gonna wait probably.
Yeah. Well, theaters here just opened up again, like this past week.
Yeah, but like I'm not gonna go to the movie theater right now.
No.
I'll go in like a couple months or something, you know.
Yeah.
Like when things start to settle down a little bit, I'll go back to the movies. Because I really like going to the movies to watch movies.
Well,
there's something about it, you know.
Yeah. Well, like maybe a month, 6 weeks ago, something like that. My mom, for someone's birthday, we rented out the loft. The whole loft cinema, and they did this thing where it's like you just come in, you have the theater space, and we'll play whatever movie you want on our theater or in our theater. And so we had the entire thing to ourselves and we watched The Big Lebowski. It was pretty cool, but that was the last time I've been in a theater since I don't remember the last time I was really in a movie theater watching a new movie. Bad Boys.
Oh yeah, you saw Bad Boys. I saw 1917.
Oh yeah,
that was the last time I saw it. Yeah. I was like, I really went to go and see that movie in theaters because you were like, that's a movie you want to see in theaters. Yes. And I have to say, that's a movie you want to see in theaters.
Yes, it is. Unless you have like a crazy surround sound set up at home, but even then, it's probably better in a theater.
Listen, I don't, but also my dog gets a little panicky around really loud noises, and that movie has some really loud noises in it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, just a few, but they're kind of very important to the movie because all of them matter. It's not just like a loud movie.
No. I want to see Dunkirk, but for a similar reason, I think I'll have to wait on that one because that one is apparently just very loud also. Like it really captures like the impact of a gun and stuff.
Yeah.
I heard.
Well, I have that movie, so I've also never seen it. But if whenever you come over, if you want to watch it without worrying about how loud it gets. I also don't have a surround sound system, so whatever.
I don't either. It's just... I don't like things that have like a huge variety in their noise level. Like if I have my TV sets like, I don't know, 15, I'm okay if the sound range is from like, I don't know, 20 to 10, but like if it goes to like 35 and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Like why did I have to set this so low?
Yeah.
Like I don't want to have to constantly like mess with the volume basically, and I think I'd have to with that movie.
That happens to us where it's like the background music is at a reasonable volume, and then something happens and it's like 10 times the volume of the background thing. And I think it's because most of like the equipment that I use, like my Xbox and my television, assume that I have a surround sound set up, like a 5.1 5 speakers set up. So there's different it's like amplified in different channels or whatever. I don't know anything about audio, by the way. I'm just totally guessing. But I only have a stereo setup, so I think it's because the configuration is wrong, and I have to set it to stereo. But I can't always do that. Like my Xbox, I don't know how to do that. I think I've tried it, and it still does the same thing. I don't know, but I don't think it's the movie's fault. I think it's like a configuration thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know nothing about audio either. All I know is I like when you're wearing a headset and sound comes out of one ear and then the other ear, but sometimes they're like different, you know? I like that.
Yeah. I get that. It was your song of the week last week. I think I mentioned that because the song of the week started on this side, but it goes to this side. You know?
Yeah. Speaking of, do you want to move on to the home game stuff?
Yes. Home game stuff. All right.
Do you want to start us off?
Yes. So I did a ton of work on home games this week, and the kind of summary there is that master is fixed, kind of. Most games work. The only one that doesn't is the word match game, which is the one that we used to play at the beginning of the show. Like, match the word, whatever the other person's going to say, or the middle word, whatever it was. So that one's broken, but the actual master branch as a whole, like the dashboard loads, the little modals load, all the new animation stuff is in there, all of the effects and stuff. Like, there's so much new stuff that I've been working on for seriously like 4 months. That's finally in master. So that's really nice. I updated my pull requests and stuff, and then I looked at the lines changed again to like 2,600 lines, and then another one was like 600 lines, and it was like, okay, how about instead of just waiting again, because there's kind of already a V1 of these comments, I'm just gonna push this, because God, I hate waiting for this. So I pushed it all. There are no open pull requests at this point, except for the one I just opened this morning to do the multiple player IDs and Squisher, which I've been talking about forever. But I had the change. I just didn't want to put out the pull request until everything was kind of clean for me to do that on top of. So that's the state of that stuff there. I also updated Pico de Gallo, which I guess I'll talk about. Oh, whatever. I'll talk about it now. So we need logs, like I've talked about a couple times before. But Pico de Gallo went down twice since I deployed, whereas the previous version was up for weeks, months, and it was pretty stable. So something is happening sometimes when someone tries something and it's killing the process. And the way I run it, I just SSH into the EC2 instance running this stuff and background to process. That's the home games, whatever stuff. So I don't really have any kind of way to tell what happened when it dies unless I can somehow go and look at output for a killed process. I don't know. I don't know how you do that.
Not that I know of.
Unless I've configured something to do that, but I haven't. So it just writes the standard out, and then the thing dies, and I can't recover it. So I need a way to track these logs. So like right now, on my thing, I have the home games game server stuff running in the foreground. So whenever it crashes, and I'm hoping it does today, I can see what the error is, so I can fix it.
Aren't you hoping it no longer crashes?
I'm hoping it does crash because there's something making it crash, and I want to get the error of what's wrong. Because if I just background this and the error happens again, I have no idea what happened. So this is obviously not a sustainable way to see what's happening with the things. So I need to get some sort of logs. And I tweeted at Alex yesterday, kind of jokingly, like, "Hey, DevOps team, like, we need logs." He responded with a picture of the dude sweating, like the. So.
I have a question on that. Wouldn't a really kind of like barbaric way of doing it, but it would be helpful, is instead of just parsing to standard output, you also parse standard error to a file?
Yeah, we could. But then the file would work on Pico de Gallo, but it wouldn't work for other people, I guess, who are running it themselves, unless they send us their file kind of stuff. I guess I'm just thinking about what I want logging to look like in the future in general.
Oh, you mean like a permanent solution to logging, not just like we need to fix this bug that we can't track down.
Right. Yeah. We need to be able to find like bugs in the server. So
I see.
Yeah, I think something like a optional reporting to us would make a lot of sense. I think for right now, I can just wrap the entire process in a try accept or try catch, and you just dump whatever something, or just
dump the error, right? Because if we have what the error is, we might be able to track it down.
Well, that's what I'm hoping for right now with me just running this in the foreground. So whatever error is, I just see it in the console. But like I said, this is not a sustainable way to do this stuff. I ideally, I get a collection of the errors that are happening across Homegames instances, the public ones, the private ones, the everything, so we can get error reports. Say like, okay, well, here's a known bug, here's a known bug. This one came up 10 times this week. We should probably prioritize this one. We don't have any kind of a base for that stuff at the moment, so I think I want to start looking into that stuff. But it's just another thing to add to the list, I guess, is Git logging.
Yeah, that's fun to do. I actually wonder if it's related to something I found when I was working with the new home game stuff. But I found out on Square, after like level 5, if you die, you no longer respawn and the game freezes up. And I was like, huh.
Nice.
Interesting. But that was pretty late last night, and I was like, I'll figure this out later.
Yeah. Well, the beauty, I guess, of that kind of stuff is that each game is running in its own process. So if that process fails, Homegames is still running. It's just that game crashed, but you can kind of go back to the dashboard and stuff and retry it. When the game server dies, it's because kind of the main process that's doing all this other stuff has died, which in this case is the dashboard. So there's some bug in the dashboard that someone is triggering, because they've done it twice already since I posted the link yesterday on Twitter. It's crashed twice. So someone is doing something that kills the dashboard, which kills Homegames essentially. And I don't know what that is, but if like a game crashing is most of the time is just gonna kill that process, and you can go back to the dashboard.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. I don't know. I'll track that down. But yeah, I'm really happy that that stuff got into the master though. That was stuff that like for a super long time now I've been anxiously awaiting.
I think I've been working on that stuff maybe even longer. I think I started talking about the effects and all this other kind of stuff when we did our first in-person one, like episode 20. Not first in person, but like, modern in-person one on camera type thing. So that was a long time ago. We've also been doing this podcast remotely like this for the majority of the time we've been doing this podcast, which is kind of nuts to think about. But yeah, anyway. Logging is my summary there. I need logging.
Nice. I also think that maybe we lost something because when I was trying to spin up home games with the new changes to it, I had to add Webpack as a dependency in the package JSON for home games web.
You shouldn't need to add it. I always had that as like a separate. I never added it to the package.json. It was just a thing that you had to do in the process to build it.
Yeah, so I added it to I installed it globally. I followed the steps that you had in there, but I think maybe with Windows it's a little bit different because when I was running npm I and then running the Webpack command, it would be like, ho, you can't just run Webpack on this. You gotta have it as part of your package JSON, sir. So I had to add it into my local package JSON as a dev dependency, but that should probably move up to just a regular dependency.
Should it? What's the difference there? Because why would
whether it's a dev dependency or a non-web dependency?
Yeah, what's the difference?
I literally think it's the mode of, because I think like can't you do Webpack build as dev or Webpack build as like production?
No, I have no idea. I just run the command Webpack and it just reads Webpack. Well,
Webpack
config.
On its own would run Webpack production build.
Well, doesn't it run the Webpack? It looks at your Webpack config.
Yes, which we don't specify mode in there. I actually don't know if there's a difference between the dev and not dev.
I have no idea because I'm assuming anybody who's installing any dependencies would need all dependencies. I don't know what a dev dependency is because all dependencies are dev. I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't know that much about I don't know that particular piece about NPM, rather. I know that you can have regular dependencies and there's a separate spot for dev dependencies. Yeah. And that may have to do with like how you're installing or whatever. Like I don't think NPM CI would install dev dependencies, for example.
But then wouldn't it need that if it was going to run the bundle? So then
it would need to run that if it was running it on a Windows box, which I don't think it is.
But
I ran into that issue on my Windows, and you weren't running into that on your Mac or on Pico de Gallo, which is Linux, right?
Well, I don't build on Pico de Gallo. I just get the binaries that I publish, and then.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I don't know then. That might be something we need to add in.
Yeah. We do. We should figure out. That's been something on the list since we added the Webpack dependency of like how to actually add it to package.json. It's just I never have, because I do the same thing. I just install it globally. I don't have it as a part of this project. I just have it installed as a tool on my machine.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't know how that works, but
I don't know either. I'll read up more on that then, because I wonder if it's specific to Windows that you have to have it as part of the project and have it as installed globally. Because I have it installed globally and it just didn't.
yeah.
It wasn't enjoying itself. I had to install Webpack CI, then Webpack, then I had to add the dependency for it before it actually like would start properly. Basically, what was happening was I texted Joseph yesterday like, "Hey, listen, like I gotta leave right now, but my build isn't spinning up properly," and it was just sitting on a blank white page the whole time waiting, and I was just like, I don't know, nothing is telling me that it's an error anywhere or anything like that.
Not even in the browser console. They couldn't find bundle.js.
I wasn't getting an error. Yeah, I think it's because without without it having been bundled, it's loading just like the index.html page, which is just an empty white page.
But it should 404 on trying to access the bundle if it's not there. So it might have been an old bundle from a previous build, but it was just fucked because it was the old version.
It may have been, yeah.
I don't know.
Because it was it's the same cloned repo.
Yeah.
That I have been working out of. I just, pulled the new stuff and then tried to do a rebuild on it. It's like that old bundle was probably still there.
Yeah, because it puts it out to web/bundle.js, and then the app server reads it from there.
Yeah, so it was probably just like, I don't know what is going on.
Yeah, but it's interesting that you didn't have any errors. It should have, because it would have, I would think, hit some sort of problem because the colors changes and the way it tries to render stuff. It just kind of, anyway, I have no idea.
I think it's because the bundled version is bundled with the old stuff. Like it has the old version of colors. It doesn't have those changes.
But if you did npm install, then
it would, but without running the Webpack, it wouldn't have.
But then, okay, yeah, something happened. But we need to have Webpack.
Something janky happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like basically, what's going to happen this week for me is just that Webpack bug is going to have a PR for it, and then also I'll look and see if I can figure what's wrong with Square, so I can put a bug fix for it too.
Yeah.
Those should be pretty small PRs. And then I did some work on getting the secrets stuff, and basically I was like looking into how other projects handle secrets, and there is a npm package called .env, which is what I use at work and what the internet seems to recommend, but honestly, like I don't know. It seems basically like it just adds in. I'm sorry. Like it basically is just like a way of adding in like process.env variables in Node, which I mean I could do without having a library, so I'll probably do it that way.
Yeah, I would think that you would just need, similar to our settings, you have like kind of this default whatever, but you just need to have some sort of file there that you say, hey, add your shit in here, and then add it to gitignore and that whole thing, so no one actually commits it, and if they do, they have to do it intentionally. It's basically to make it harder for themselves to screw themselves over, and then you just do some sort of script at the beginning to make everything available in that file as a environment variable.
Yep.
Yeah.
Basically, I would just do like process.env variable name.
Right.
Right. So I would just have key value probably.
Yeah,
which seems to be how this .env works anyway. So we'll have our own version of the .env.
You could basically just copy the config that we have already and then just call it secrets. Yeah. And it's a different thing. Yeah.
Well, the reason I needed the secrets stuff was specifically for the Twitter secrets, right? Because that's like we don't want to have available. So I'll probably do that. But I'll have a separate PR out for that. So I'll probably have 2 PRs out this week.
Nice.
For those things. And then I did have a question for you. The placement of the Homegames home button, is that supposed to just appear in the game?
Yeah, so like one of the things we talked about a few weeks ago, I think it was the one that we did with Synovia at your house, is that she wants it to be a bezel around the screen.
Yes.
And so that should live in a bezel. But in order to do that bezel, we need to scale every game that's not the Homegames dashboard and do some math on every coordinate that it sets to convert their 100% to the actual 80%, for example, because it's their 100 is the edge of their screen width, not the real Homegames container. So that's the work that needs to be done there. But for the time being, I'm leaving it in the game because adding the bezel stuff in addition to this 3,000 lines would have just been a nightmare. So I was just putting all this stuff out, but that's on the list. You can't see it, but it's on this whiteboard behind me, is add a bezel.
Okay, and then final question for you then. Responsivity is something I noticed that either we never had or it no longer works. But like for the Homegames screen, if I have my browser in like half screen, for example, right? It like cuts off the scroll bar and stuff. Like it doesn't like fit the game to the screen.
Yeah, it does. I did some update there because I forget why, but basically it always needs to have a certain amount of width for it to render at all, and if it doesn't, it just doesn't. So this is the same on your phone. If you try to run it on your phone in portrait, it'll just not show. You have to turn your phone sideways, and it'll then go because it has enough width to show its thing. I think it's that there's a bug in there somewhere because it should always be able to display even a very small version of it in 16:9 or whatever the aspect ratio of the game is defined as. But all that kind of stuff is just generally a mess right now. There's the guts of it, but I think there's bugs, and so it used to work in a way where I can resize the window and the game would resize with it, and it would kind of just work. And then, there's a cost to progress, Yazeed.
Okay, cool. I just wasn't sure if that was something that like I'm crazy never worked before, or if it did work and just no longer works.
Yeah, that's the case.
Okay, cool. Yeah. That is all my stuff for Homegames this week.
Cool. I think I might have something I wanted to mention, but I don't remember what it is at this point. I guess I'll just look at this whiteboard. The things that are on this whiteboard are Fixmaster with a check on it because I have done that. And then bezel, so that's next. Versioning, which is still continues to be a thing. The player IDs change I have in Squisher. God, all these words, they're like they're close in, anyway, confusing terminology. In the Squisher, we'll break every other version of the game, so we need to have the whole kind of in Homegames multi-versioning of dependency stuff. The city clicker game, obviously, I didn't really make progress on this week because I was focused on getting master working, but now I can rebase that stuff on master and just kind of go from there. And then I have my workboard project, which continues to get shoved down the priority list. And then I have my other stuff I need to do for the Squisher to hide data for certain people, instead of having everybody filtered out on their view stuff. The thing I wanted to mention was that the Homegames, the repo with the game server and stuff, the tests hung at the end because of the whole close thing or whatever that you were talking about. Like something has an open timeout or interval or something. So that they don't pass, but they pass. They just it never finishes the process. So like I have to do something there. We should add the timeout for the close that we talked about a few weeks ago or something like that. Because I don't really know what's going on there. Like for the games that I'm testing, I don't think have intervals or timeouts left over, but they probably do. I just am not thinking of them or something. And then a couple weeks ago, this is my last thing. A couple weeks ago, I mentioned that your test runner had a bug in it, and then I caught myself and I was like, no, it didn't. That was just a me thing. But it did have a bug in it, Yazeed. And it wasn't. I wouldn't really call it a bug. So like I run these processes from within Vim. So like I'm in the text editor, and then I do a thing, but the Vim swap file is still there, which is a hidden file. Starts with a dot, right? So it's whatever. So the actual file is not a valid JavaScript file. It's a binary that Vim is storing, and so I don't even know if it's a binary. I don't know what it is, but it's some file that Vim is storing. So it was technically matching the pattern because it was .game.js.swp.
Oh yeah.
So I had to add a filter in your test runner to filter out hidden files, and that's all. But
okay, cool. I'm glad that it wasn't like your test run doesn't work when you name your file spaghettios.test.js. Like, okay.
It'd be a pretty interesting bug if it was just the.
You considering that whole test run is like 30 lines long.
Yeah. But yeah, and it's also it's shared between Homegames and Homegames Web, so we might want to just make that a very simple Homegames utility, the same way that we do for Squish or anything else.
Yeah, so the reason I didn't do that, it was because placement of tests can vary. But yeah, I do think that should become a util.
Maybe it's a shared library, but then you just have one line of config, which is where your tests are.
Maybe. I don't know. There's quite a few ways of doing it.
Yeah.
The other thing too is like it's also what's used to test Squish. So like literally it's like that is our testing library. So it probably should be a part of something that's a shared utility.
Yeah.
A testing utility. And I agree. I will add that to my list of things to do this week. One sec.
You sound mad. I'll add that to my list.
I'm not mad about having to add it to there. I'm mad that I didn't do it before, even though I knew like I should probably.
It's tough. There's so many things. There's so many things where when I'm reading code or when I'm going through something, I'm like, I should do this. I should do this. We should do this. It's like, it goes back to the same thing of like our time is not. We don't have that much time, and there's only two of us, and we have to do other things that aren't just working in Homegames, or else we'd kill ourselves. So. It's just hard to kind of prioritize things that need to be done. But,
yeah, agree.
But yeah, that's all I had for home game stuff.
Nice, that's all I had as well. Are you ready to move on to Song of the Week?
I am ready to move on to Song of the Week.
Hey, all right. So... I'll start with this one. So just kind of going through last week's Songs of the Week, JC gave us King Princess's Hit the Back. I said it's JC's anthem. The actual YouTube video says it's I think it's just called like Bottom's Anthem or something like that. It's just, I don't like that song, but it reminds me of JC, if that makes sense. Not that I dislike JC. I know that it sounded like when I said it that way, but I like JC, dislike the song. The song reminds me of JC.
Yeah, I listened to that song as well, and I guess from hearing JC say it's a Bottoms anthem, and reading the title, and then from the artwork of the album and stuff, I was expecting it to be a very sexual song, like overtly sexual and explicit, and it really wasn't. It was kind of a very subtle thing, and I guess if you know the context of what she's saying, it's sexual, but it's not if you don't, compared to like that Cardi B Megan Thee Stallion song, which is like quite the opposite. Is a gross song. This is not that. No. So yeah, I don't know. I also didn't like it, but I still do love JC. But it didn't click with me, I guess, is my summary there.
Yeah, that song really did seem like you have to have some like prior experience with King Princess. I feel like the first song with King Princess, I don't know about. That song is a little out there, maybe. Yeah.
He also mentioned one song from the Fall Guys OST last week, and I listened to that, and it was actually very fun. I forget the name of the song, but that's a fun soundtrack.
Did he? I don't listen to OSTs for songs that like. No, Jesus, what am I talking about? I don't listen to video game music when I'm playing games that are like specifically to be played with other people. Yeah. Like, I don't listen to like Fall Guys music when I'm playing Fall Guys with my friends. I just want to talk to them.
Well, it's very much like a background thing, but JC, I guess, listened to the thing more deeply or whatever. Video game music is fun because it's very like it paints a picture of the game that it is from, which is kind of nuts to think about. Like the music sounds like a game, which is a weird concept, that the song can sound like not a song or remind you of something that's not a song. But anyway,
when you hear the Mario soundtrack, you're like, that's Mario.
Yeah, Mario is different because it has a it's very obviously Mario. Like that is Mario. It doesn't sound like jumping and shit. It sounds like Mario. But like the Fall Guys one, it sounds like fun chaos. It sounds colorful and chaotic the way that the game is. So it's kind of nice. But yeah, we didn't put it on here as a main thing because we're trying to stick to a one song of the week limit, because otherwise this would be a 4-hour segment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, for the record, Doom 2016 soundtrack, I think, is the best video game soundtrack of all time.
Is it better than Eternal?
Yeah.
You never even finished Eternal because you suck.
No.
Yeah.
Shut up. Okay. How about that? Okay. It's not that it was too hard. I just stopped playing
It is that it was too hard. It's okay, Yazeed.
And then the other song of the week was your song of the week, which was I Want You to Love Me by Fiona Apple.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard the song before. The last few seconds of that song are just hilarious, given the rest of the song. Yeah. Song's not bad. I probably won't listen to it again.
What do you mean
Like,
not
it's not
bad?
on my playlist.
It's so
It's not
good.
bad. It's not bad.
Okay. the part.
It's just
Go ahead.
the song is like a different energy, I think, to what I listen to.
See, I get. It's okay. So like,
It's adjacent to what I listen to. Sorry, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. It's a more. Not progressive isn't the word I'm trying to say, because I'm saying the song progresses, not that like the art form is progressive, but it is the kind of sound that I think you listen to, which is just soft and that kind of stuff, but it goes somewhere, and I think that's maybe where you and I change, like our tastes differ.
Yeah, I do see what you meant last week, though, where if you listen to the first 5 seconds and you listen to the last 5 seconds, you're like, this is two different songs, but it's really just one on a really, like, it's like, it has a character arc to it. This song's like, parents die, and then he, like, becomes Batman, and then it retires, and, like, Bruce becomes just, like, you know, the main person. Like, I don't know.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I think that song is just... I also don't really like much of that album, and I'm not really a big Fiona Apple fan, but I think that song is just so good. And the like, I want what I want and I want you, like, I love that part. I just love when her energy changes, and it's like the song changes with it. It's just it's so nice to me. But yeah, I guess for my song of the week stuff, your song of the week last week was Jared James, Do You Remember, featuring Rowry.
Right, yeah.
This song, I had a kind of similar problem with it that I did as the one last week, or maybe the week before, I don't remember. But it was basically hard for me to hear what they're saying, and it's the singing, the pitch is high, and it's kind of obfuscating the words that he's saying, and I can't really make out what he's saying, and so I don't get the song because I don't know. Like in a song like this where it's really just instruments, but the point is the vocals, and the vocals are hard to hear, I don't get it. Like I don't hear the music the way I'm supposed to. And it's kind of an interesting problem. Like I just kind of have to keep listening to it. And I listened to it twice, and I didn't get much either time. So I don't know if I want to listen again, because it's kind of just trying to find these puzzle pieces, which are just, what is he saying? So I could figure out what this song is. And I don't really feel any kind of pull to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of my music is going to have a similar problem for you in that, like, that's kind of what I like. Where I can listen to a song like 100 times, not really pay attention to it, then like pay attention one time and like, huh, that's an interesting line. And then just go back to listening to like, you know.
But that's the same thing that I say about Young Thug, is that you can listen to his stuff 1,000 times, and then on the 1,001st time you catch what he said in a particular bar, and you're like, holy shit, that's amazing.
Yeah, and I like Young Thug.
Yeah, I guess
My argument has never been that Young Thug is bad.
No,
my argument has always been that his music is crazy high energy, and I am not high energy when I'm listening to music most of the time.
It's not all high energy though. He's got some more ballad type stuff.
See, you've never showed me his ballad type stuff. Usually you're like, yeah, and it's out here talking about like killing people and shit, and I was like, yeah, and then I listened to it, I'm like, whoa.
A can of Monster energy drink just screaming.
Yeah, it's Monster Hitman Elite Sniper Volume 2, man. It's like crazy high energy. Like, what?
Okay, well, this is not my song of the week, and you don't have to listen to this. But if you want a example of what I would consider a really great, slower song by him, look up Safe. There's a video for it on YouTube as well. It's amazing. Young Thug is amazing. So while you write that in your notes, I will also briefly talk about my song of the week, kind of the reasoning for it. So my song of the week is Watch My Shoes by Lil Wayne.
I thought you said wash my shoes instead of watch my shoes, and I was like, I don't know if I like where this is going.
Watch My Shoes by Lil Wayne. So this song came out 2009 on a mixtape called No Ceilings on a website called DatPiff. And I remember downloading this thing when it came out, like the minute it came out, because it was a big deal. It's kind of a remnant of this mixtape era of hip-hop where you know, pre-Spotify, pre-Apple Music streaming and all this kind of stuff, it was music that you buy on iTunes, you can buy stuff on CD, and you can get free mixtapes on DatPiff. And like Wiz Khalifa's early stuff, Lil Wayne had a bunch of stuff on there too. Just a bunch of rappers had mixtapes that were freely available. And a lot of the time this music didn't have, like, it had samples and all this kind of stuff that they couldn't get cleared to commercially release the music, so they had to put it onto a free mixtape. And it was just this very, you know, kind of a special time, I guess, in history, because that kind of stuff is gone now. Everything is released commercially on Spotify, or it's released on SoundCloud for free, but even that's kind of falling away. And the whole mixtape thing just kind of got left behind. So No Ceilings was released on Spotify finally after 11 years, but maybe like half the songs were missing because they couldn't be cleared for whatever reason. But one of the songs that did make it was Watch My Shoes. It's just called Shoes on Spotify, so you have to look up Lil Wayne Shoes. But the song is called Watch My Shoes. But the opening line to that song is top tier, and I'm not going to say it because it'll ruin the impact when you hear it, but it's a fantastic opening line. It's a fantastic song. It's just him rapping for like 3 or 4 minutes. No hook, none of that stuff. It's just rapping. And Lil Wayne is one of the best rappers ever, so it's just fun to hear him rap. He's so good at it. So I don't know, the song being released, or this album being released on Spotify this week, just kind of triggered my memory of that. When I played the Watch My Shoes on the speakers, it just took me somewhere. I was like, yep, song of the week.
Nice. No. Okay. I'm excited to listen to that, and also Safe. Also, I don't think I actually said my song of the week this week. It's by Win and Woo. And the song is called Recognize, featuring Ash, or Ashy. I'm not actually sure how to pronounce that name.
Like Ash.
It's a bop. Okay. All right. That's all you got to know going into it. It's a bop.
Nice.
And that's
is it a bop in a way? So like, define a bop. What makes a bop for you?
A bop's a song that that was hella loud. I heard the echo in my own.
I had a limiter.
Head.
It's all good.
Yeah. A bop is just a song that when you listen to it, your head nods. You kind of want to like move around a little bit to it. Just a fun song, you know.
So do you feel like
makes you smile?
Okay. I don't know. A bop. I would not say the music that you recommend typically is not bop-esque. It's kind of.
I've only recommended a handful of bops.
Okay.
But every time you've also said they were bops. I think this is a bop.
Okay. I look forward to it. It's fun to define bop, you know. It's different for everybody.
You're right to be nervous though, because most of the songs that I'm like, oh yeah, and I really like this song, is like, yeah, they said 4 words in 15 minutes, so you know.
Yes, that's the opposite of a bop to me. But okay, yeah, I get what you're saying.
Okay. Yeah, that's my song of the week this week.
Yeah, I don't have any rapid fire questions or anything, so I don't have anything else on these notes.
So I have a question. I don't know if I would consider it rapid fire.
Okay.
how do you know when you're happy?
Holy shit. This is a question, man. Why? Why are you asking this?
Do you remember when, all right, before the podcast started, Joseph and I were talking about owning stuff, and basically he was like, why do you own this stuff behind you? And I was like, basically, a part of why I own this stuff behind me so I don't come across like a crazy person who just lives in an empty house. Mm-hmm. Like, that's kind of part of why, right? So the way I know whether I'm happy or not is every so often I have a checklist of questions that I go through and ask myself, and if I answer them not correctly, then I'm not happy. Then like basically I have a checklist of things that are like a check-in. It's like when you go to your like, you know, your car dealership with your car and they go through their checklist. I'm the same way, but it's about my happiness. And I'm trying to figure out if I'm a crazy person or if this is just one of those things.
No, it's interesting that you try to quantify feelings like that. Like it's a challenge, I guess. I don't know. I think from a personal thing, like I haven't been happy since I was like 11 years old. Like in the way that I think I would be happy, and it's like I'm not trying to be dark or weird or whatever. I'm just saying, as life goes on, you kind of personally, I have this idea of what I want to be doing at a certain point. Oh, I want to be in my 20s. I want to have this job and work at this place and have this kind of a life and do these things. And by all of those check boxes, I kind of have hit them, which is a very cool thing for me, like on a personal goal level. But the idea was always that would be the requirements for me to be happy, where it's like, oh, I'm just chilling. But I have realized as I got older that I can never just like relax. I can't ever just like enjoy it and soak up something that's happening to just enjoy it. I just have to keep thinking about the next problem because that's just the way that I am. But I have been happy a lot in like little bursts in the past 15 years. But I think there was a time when I just like, it's because I was carefree. When I stopped thinking about, or when I wasn't thinking about problems or things that make me unhappy, I was just happy. It was just, yeah, I just wake up every day and I just do stuff and I don't give much thought to it. And then when I started thinking about things in this kind of goal-oriented way, it always made me unhappy. And I'm kind of just constantly this thing of like, until I have everything that I think I need, I can't be happy because the goal is here and I'm not here. So by definition, I cannot be here. You know what I mean? But that's not it. I think it's really just when you stop thinking about it. When you're not thinking about what you need to do to be happy, you're happy.
I see. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think happiness isn't like a destination to get to. I think it's like a journey that you're continuously on. So like you are happy, but you could be happier kind of idea.
Yeah.
Unless you're not happy, which also happens.
Yeah, I think.
Then the goal is to get back to like a minimum level of. Basically, I think that there's a minimum level of happiness that I'm willing to accept for my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, happy is like the mood that you're in, the kind of view that you have of your life while you're trying to do something. It is not the thing you're trying to do, you know? And I think I'm still trying to hit that. I'm still trying to get to that point where I can be happy while I'm stressed out, which is crazy to me to think of that I can do both of those at the same time. But that's kind of the thing, because otherwise it's like, oh, I'm 70, I'm finally happy, and then I'm like dead in a week. You know what I mean? That's not what I want.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Yeah.
I don't know. So you don't make a checklist and go through it?
I do have a checklist. It's just a little less explicitly defined. But like I said, it's kind of like job. Like, you know, like on paper, life is pretty great. You know what I mean? Like my life is pretty great. But it's like I have these checklists of like things I've always wanted to do. And it's like become a famous rapper is on that list. It's like I'm never going to become a famous rapper. But that's been my thing since I was like 5. I wanted to become a famous rapper. So it's like, realistically, that's just not a thing that's going to happen. So I can't just say that this is a prerequisite for happiness, because it's not a realistic goal anymore. My life went a different way, and I'm still hitting these other checklists the way that you have a checklist, but my checklist is like a thing in my head. I don't write it down.
Oh, okay.
You know?
I got you.
You know? It's a dark end to this
sense.
episode.
Yeah, a little bit. Speaking of dark ends to this episode, this is actually the last episode of Patch Notes, the Home Games podcast.
Yeah. Do you want to tell them why?
Because we're renaming the podcast. Every nerd and their mother names their podcast Patch Notes.
Yes.
So we're going to drop the Patch Notes, the part of this podcast, and it's just going to be the Home Games podcast.
Yeah.
I'm still workshopping how to say it, but
yeah, you got to get the inflection right. It's kind of like you're writing like a rap line. Like you kind of have this pocket you need to fill, and you need to hit a certain thing here and then say this here, but you don't know what to fill in right here. You know? So we'll workshop it.
yeah, I think it took us a while to get to the Patch Notes, the Home Games podcast.
It took us like a week. We figured it out like on episode 0. We kind of decided the name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one has less words to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it needs to take up the same space or not. But anyway, yeah, wanted to put that announcement out so that if you follow us and care next week when we record, it'll be the first episode of the Home Games podcast.
The Home Games podcast. Yeah, that makes more sense as a name. I think I Googled Patch Notes podcast this past week just to see what happens if we show up or whatever. And there was just some podcast of another set of kids talking about video games and stuff. I'm just like, oh, cool, another one, you know? Like, maybe we should just remove this name. I don't want to come up with all these, like, I think we talked about the graveyard of Patch Notes in the first episode of this stuff. So, yeah, no, that, and then did you want to talk about the next episode and the recording setup? Or I can, or whatever.
Oh, yeah, you can, because I don't actually know what you want to say about it.
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, this is the last one that we're doing remotely, I think, for a while at least. We're still going to probably do them remotely every now and then when we have to, but Arizona seems to be less of a crazy, dangerous Rona spot now than it was a couple months ago. So, yeah, we're going to record in person next week. We also have some new equipment and stuff, so we're going to have a better video setup, a better mic setup. We have a new audio interface and condenser mic stuff. So next episode will be kind of more of a, I told Yazeed to be like some Steven Spielberg shit on the phone. Not quite that level realistically, but not far, you know. So yeah. it'll be a different thing, but we'll be back in person next week.
And probably like 99% less awkward.
No, we'll be awkward still, but it won't be because of the communication disconnect thing. It'll just be because of our personalities. It's the way God intended.
All right, and I think that's all for us, right?
Yeah, that's all I had.
All right. As always, music was made by our friend Tynan or at Nitan on Bandcamp. You can catch us on Twitter at homegames.io, or our website is homegames.io.
Send us questions, feedback. I know we stopped asking people for that stuff, but we're always down for it. We just stopped doing it because we didn't have any questions. So send us questions.
I'd really love for the person in France to just send us a question in French, and then we can translate it, and then we can translate our answer, and we can both try to speak French poorly.
There you go. Yeah, we do have location stats. We have a non-zero amount of listeners, and some of them are in Europe, which is insane to us. But yeah, let us know feedback, comments, questions, anything. Just let us know on Twitter, or we have contact stuff on our website as well. But
do you keep checklists, physical checklists that you have to go through to figure out if you're happy or not? Because this idiot does, that's for sure.
What makes you happy? Let us know in the comments. Leave a like, comment. No, that whole thing. But yeah, give us feedback stuff.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.